It's like, just calm down, folks. Just calm down. And welcome in to the Best Boys Center Ice podcast.
I didn't do it. I didn't get through it.
You
Dang
didn't.
it.
You almost did. You didn't. Like, you kind of just smirked a little bit.
I could never watch that without laughing. I don't know. It's hard to watch that clip without laughing.
That's funny. All right, so it's Carson and Barry, the Best Boys Center Ice podcast 2025 Stanley Cup Playoff wrap-up show. And tonight, a couple of games, a couple of game fives in the Stanley Cup playoffs between Carolina and Washington and Dallas and Winnipeg. We'll go over that in a minute. But first, we want to say that you can get all of the nightly wrap-up shows from the playoffs on the Best Boys Center Ice podcast YouTube channel. It's all up to date now. This one will be on tomorrow, along with being on Spreaker. You can go back and check them all out. And it's also available not only just on our YouTube channel, but the YouTube channel itself is on the
Refocus Radio Network.
Yeah, Refocus Radio Network with I Am Refocus Radio with Shemaya Reed and Sweep the League with Rudy Campos Jr. Get it all there. I did on TikTok. I did a kind of a game and series wrap up last night.
I know. As soon as I opened that video, you were smiling from ear to ear on that.
Yeah. Well, it was the last the Oilers have now made it to the Western Conference Finals 3 of the last 4 years. So we'll see how this one goes. But tonight we're going to focus first on the East, where there was an elimination game in Washington, and it was the Capitals and the Hurricanes, with the Hurricanes having a 3-1 series lead. And really, I don't know, there was a little, not much a jump from kind of like Vegas. I don't know if you saw much of the game, but it's kind of like Vegas. No real panic, no real at home. We don't want to lose in front of our hometown crowd. We don't want to lose this thing 4-1. We're the top seed in the East. There was no panic mode. There was no sense of urgency with Washington. And what happens? Carolina beats them.
Yeah, I got it exactly right tonight. I said that Carolina was going to win 3. Well, I mean, so obviously the board says it all, and as well as in the intro when we finished it. Carolina beats Washington 4-1 in the series. Rough series for the Capitals. I mean, they had a hard time scoring goals. They, I believe, finished 7 or 8 goals in the series. Or no, sorry, they finished, I think, with maybe 6 or 7 goals this series.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So 7 goals in 5 games. That's definitely not enough. That's, a goal, 1.2 some odd goals or 1.3 some odd goals a game, which isn't good enough to win the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like I said, though, and then we'll kind of get on to the game summary. Washington has nothing to be ashamed of. They had a really good season. I mean, they went bold in free agency in the offseason and got a lot of guys on that team. They locked up, like I said the other day, Chychrun long-term, which is huge for them. They got Logan Thompson on his signing, which was actually really a good steal because he turned out to be a stud and somebody I bet you they'll imagine locking up for a while. Nothing to hang their heads about. I mean, that's a tough team to beat in Carolina, and Washington did a good job. I saw an interesting stat, which I think is very interesting and almost kind of hard to imagine, but the Capitals in the 20-year career of Alex Ovechkin have only advanced past the second round one time, and that's when they won the Stanley Cup. Yep. So, that's not a great stat, but they won the Stanley Cup that year. Good season for Washington. I imagine them being a good team for a while because they've made all the right moves to keep that team still young but competitive. If you look at the scoring, I mean, the Canes started it off. Jordan Staal got his first of the playoffs, and then former my former buddy Anthony Beauvillier, who we traded to Washington earlier this season, gets his second of the playoffs to tie the game in the first, and then you go to the third, and a heartbreaking end for the Caps, as in the last 2 minutes, Svechnikov scored kind of a wacky angle goal, right in the dots, and they take the lead 2-1, and then Seth Jarvis empty netter, with about 30 seconds left, and that ends the season for the Washington Capitals. Again, really, I don't want to say boring series, but I wasn't really expecting this one to be the most entertaining of them all, and this definitely was not. But it was a gritty series, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, the Canes advance. So you look at the shot board here: Carolina 21 shots, or sorry, Washington, or sorry, Carolina did have 21 shots. I'm
Yeah.
looking at the Carolina. So I mean, you look at this is the winning goal right here from Svechnikov. So bad angle for sure to let that one go by. Uh, and then you have Jarvis's empty netter, and then Stahl's opening goal. So tons of net front shots. You look at all this right here. They have 6, 7, 8 shots right here, just in this region, right in front of the net. Not too much going on from the point, but they made their shots count. They only needed 21 on net. 3 of them went by. Whereas you look at Washington, some net fronts with Beauvillier's goal right in front of the crease, but not as many shots. 19 tonight. That's not enough to get it done in the playoffs. And yep, this end of a great season for the Washington Capitals, as they had a really good season. The Ovechkin record was obviously probably the best moment in the NHL
Mm-hmm.
this year,
Yeah.
and they have nothing to hang their heads about. But it is on to the Eastern Conference Final for the Carolina Hurricanes for God, what feels like a third time, maybe in the last 5, 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
They made it in 19 when Boston made the Stanley Cup final. They made it in 2023 when the Panthers made the final and lost to Vegas. And then now they're back
Yeah.
after a 1 year hiatus from last year. So, going to be interesting for them. They'll have to wait and see who they play. But end of the season, end of the road for the Caps, and the Canes march on to round 3.
Yeah. And once again, you talk about Washington, number one seed in the East. And
Which was a surprise. No one
yeah.
expected that. I didn't. I did not expect them to get there to the top seed. So
And so you look at it from Washington's standpoint. We sit back and say, "Hey, they had a great season," and there was a lot of excitement in Washington all year round, not just because of Ovi's chasing Gretzky's record, but the team was playing fantastic all year long. And then you get into the playoffs, and you kind of think, "Well, okay, we've got a shot at this," and then had a hard time in the first round. Like really, they didn't have an easy time, and then in the second round, forget it. They were outclassed every game by Carolina. And they wind up now getting their golf clubs and heading out to the course
yeah,
for, and Carolina's going to move on, and
yeah.
it's going to be like we don't know who
Know who you
Carolina's
get.
going to play yet, but if things fall the way that we think they do, it's going to be Florida,
Which is a repeat conference final from 2023, and then ironically, if Dallas, we'll talk about that in a minute. But if Dallas
Mhm.
advances, then that'd be a repeat of last year. So pretty interesting. Kind of rare that the NHL, I don't want to say it's parity that way, where it's the same teams, but it seems like it's going to kind of work out to be that way this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Washington again has the what I feel like should be the Jack Adams winner behind their bench, and Carberry. He did a great job, and nothing to hang their heads about. But you're right, they're packing up their clubs and heading to the course or heading on vacation for a couple of weeks after this one. They're done until October at this point.
All right. Late game tonight was in Winnipeg. The Jets trying to hold off and stave off elimination against the Dallas Stars. Dallas are up 3-1. Again, here we're talking about the Winnipeg Jets being not just the top seed in the West, but the President Trophy winner, best record in the NHL. And again, getting into the playoffs, they had a hard time against Minnesota, and they're having
St.
a difficult
Louis.
time. Or I'm sorry, yeah,
You made that mistake the other day too. It's
yeah,
funny.
so it was like against St. Louis, and now they've been having trouble with Dallas. So we both thought Dallas was going to go into Winnipeg and take care of things and be done with it. But
Yep.
finally, and it's just must be the home cooking for Connor Hellebuyck, because I think they said something, his goals against at home in the playoffs is like below 2. It's like 1 point something. But
Yeah,
on the
but on the
road,
road, forget about it.
it's forget about it. Well, tonight he gets a shutout. He gets, I think, his second of this playoffs, his
Hmm.
fourth or fifth career playoff shutout. 4-0 over Dallas, and I mentioned it to you earlier on the text message. Dallas just looked slow. They just looked a step or two behind the whole game. They only mustered nine shots in the first 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And even though in the third they got 13, most of that came late in the last 4 or 5 minutes when they pulled Otter and got started putting some pressure on finally. But again, in the NHL, you cannot win by just shooting the puck 9 times at the net in 40 minutes. And look, Winnipeg did what Winnipeg was supposed to do. Winnipeg, they staved off elimination. They fought. They got 2 power play goals and a shorthand. I didn't realize that the empty netter by Ehlers was a shorthanded goal too. I'm trying to figure that one out, but they said it was a shorthanded empty netter. So again, no scoring in the first. Shively got his 4th in the second period, and then the floodgates went. Well, Dallas took too many penalties. It was a chippy game, very chippy game. That 5-on-3 that they had that cost them dearly, and they just looked slow. Didn't have that jump that they had in Game 4 in Dallas, and Winnipeg comes up with a 4-0 win, and they're going to live to play another day.
Yeah, and I don't see that being an issue for Dallas. I mean, they didn't play great, obviously. They did not. But that's nothing to be concerned about. I mean, they're going to go home where they're very comfortable and where Connor Hellebuyck and the Jets have not been comfortable. That's going to be a big difference here in this series, is that Dallas had the ability to win a game in Winnipeg. Winnipeg hasn't been able to win on the road. They've looked horrible on the road. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere in Dallas on Saturday. It's going to be a hard atmosphere for the Jets to play in. Great response for them to get tonight's game, but I just don't see them snapping 3 off in a row against Dallas. And, you talk about breaks, luck. Winnipeg, that first goal of the game shifted the tide completely. What a lucky play for the Jets, and what a crappy bounce for Dallas on that one, as Thomas Harley just was in the wrong spot. Scheifele puts it off his foot, and there you go. It's in the net. But horrible, not only discipline, but discipline in the beginning of the third. Took 2 tripping penalties in the matter of 10 seconds, and that's it. I mean, any team in the NHL, for the most part, is going to convert an opportunity like that at some point. And, Otter didn't play that bad. He really didn't, but, Hellebuyck stopped everything he faced, and it's nothing to be concerned about if you're the Jets, or if you're Dallas. You just go back home and play the way you have at home and lock it up, and you're good. It's all done.
So, you talk about those 2 tripping penalties within 10 seconds of each other. One of them led to a power play goal. They don't do that, and they get by that, and they kill off that just a 5-on-4.
They might be in it still.
It might be in it. It's still 1-0.
But again, nothing to be concerned about. I think you're just more careful next game.
Yeah.
They have that little buffer where they could play a game like this, and you'd rather it happen now than like Game 7. So they'll go back home. They'll be all right. Nothing to be concerned about there. But yeah, that series, as you see in here, 3-2 lead for the Stars. Look at the shot board. Dallas 22 shots. None of them went past Hellebuyck tonight. Kind of spread out throughout the ice. A lot going on in front of the net. A lot in the dots. Nothing too much from the points, but the Jets did a good job on defense, shutting them down. Obviously, only 9 shots after 2 periods is a lot. A big success for that defense. And then look at Winnipeg, so much right in front of the net. Everything they scored was right in front of the net. 35 shots, so they outshot them almost by a 2-1 margin. That's a big difference. And they were effective with what they were shooting. They were putting anything on the net, which is important at this time of the year. So big game for them, big game for the Jets. They have a lot to play for Saturday, and you anticipate it to be a chippy game, especially after the end of this game. Lots of action going on the last few minutes, last half of the third period. Jamie Benn, Mark Scheifele got into it in front of the bench. Jamie Benn punches him in the face when he's not looking and gets ejected. It's going to be a chippy game on Saturday, but I think this Dallas team is just so loaded. I just don't see them getting beat by the Jets 3 times in a row. I really don't. But big game for the Jets to close out this doubleheader on a Thursday night.
11, 11 penalties were called in the third period between
Oh yeah, it was a frenzy of penalties, and it was awesome. That's playoff hockey right there. But you move on from this game and head to our loan of tomorrow, and boy, oh boy, are we excited to talk about this game right here,
Yeah.
as the Florida Panthers head back home to host the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 6. We've seen this movie before, haven't we?
Yep, once or twice.
What are your thoughts?
Well, there's a reason why that team in Toronto is called the Maple Laughs. It's because they do this every year. Like if you're in the fan base, and Toronto has a fan base, especially
they do.
all across Canada. Like all across Canada, whenever
They have
go,
a big fan base, which is
they travel very
really
well.
do.
They have a lot of fans in each of the other Canadian NHL cities, some of the American cities as well, and there's a lot of Maple Leaf fans. And you got to be thinking to yourself as a Leafs fan, going, "All right, when is enough enough? When are we going to get like we cheer for 82 games? They play great 82 games, and they get into the playoffs, and they just fall apart. And it's like, well, here we go again. Like like it's not over until it's over because they're down 3-2 to Florida. But you're in Florida, you're playing like crap. You just have this, as Carson has said before, you've got this aura about you that you got it. You're going to lose. You just get it. This team's going to lose. This team's going to blow it. This team's not going to get out of the second round. And that's been going on for years and years and years. Like you said, when they won the cup in
67.
Huh?
67.
67, when they won the cup, there was only 6 teams, so you only played 2 rounds. You played the first round, and the second round was the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
So they never gotten by a second round in the NHL, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but they had some good teams in the 70s.
They did. I mean, they did. They had tons of great players. I mean, legacy players. You look across the decades. Wendell Clark,
Yep.
Daryl Sittler. I mean, even guys that right now,
Borje Salming, and goaltending like Mike Palmateer.
Cujo, they had Cujo for a bit.
Cujo for a while. They had Grant Fuhr for a while too.
Even now, this generation of the Toronto Maple Leafs, there are talented players on that team, like Nylander, Marner, Matthews, Tavares. They're great players, but yeah, you keep going. Sorry.
Well, you just gotta think, okay, like what is it going to take? And I think it all leads up, and you've said it before, the leadership of the team on the ice. Okay, this was the first year that Austin Matthews got the seat. John Tavares was the captain before, but Austin Matthews was arguably their best player ever since he was drafted by the Leafs. And I think he was drafted the year before
2016.
That was the year after McDavid.
He was drafted in 16. That's when he got drafted.
So, so automatically you start having comparisons to Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid, saying, well, Matthews is better than McDavid. Matthews is better than McDavid. I don't think so. Like, I'm not just saying that because I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan. I'm saying it because it's just not true. Connor McDavid will go out there, not only just do McDavid-like things, McJesus-like things, but he'll get his nose dirty. He's not afraid to go.
The only argument you can make there is that neither of them have Stanley Cups. And that's the big thing that people say about McDavid is he's a good player, but he's not on that next level because he hasn't won a cup yet.
Yeah, but he's 10 years in, trying to think of. There's been some like look at Ovi. It took him how long to get his cup?
13.
Yeah,
14 years.
So but as far as like leadership, like Connor McDavid was the youngest captain named by the Edmonton Oilers ever. He was 19 or something. It was in his second year or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's proven to be a good leader because he just won't back. He just doesn't if he's hurt, he has to be not just injured. He has to be injured, not just hurt, for him not to play. And he's done it before, and he just is so much a better leader than Austin Matthews. And you look at Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel went how many years in Buffalo with like going through nothing and being the best player on a crappy team. And Jack gets out, but he was still the leader of that team, and you could tell he was the leader of that team.
Yeah.
You look at the late Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey. He was the leader in Calgary.
Yeah.
And it's guys like
you
that.
Just look at the Leafs. I'm sorry, but they don't have any leadership. That's why they're losing all the time. They lose all the time because there's no leadership.
That's what I'm
There's
saying.
no identity of that team. The identity is the core four, and when the core four don't show up, the Leafs don't win. That's the difference between them and these other teams that can pull these games out without their big guys really doing anything. How many games this season or the postseason that the Oilers have won? Yeah, McDavid and Draisaitl only have a point, but for the most part, it's the other guys doing the work.
Yep.
Game 4, Henrique has 2 goals in that game, and Kane has a goal. So the others stepped in. All these other teams, Florida, look at all these other guys that scored yesterday's game. Ekblad, Kulikov, Forsling, Mikkola, AJ Greer. You don't hear. I mean, Sam Bennett had a goal in there, but you don't hear Barkov, Reinhart, Kachuk, Marchand. Nope, you don't. And that's the difference between these teams and the Maple Leafs is when their core guys don't show up, they don't win. They don't win.
Core guys haven't shown up.
No, and they haven't. And
top 5 guys haven't scored yet.
Tomorrow's game.
That was in Vegas. But these guys haven't done anything except for Nylander.
No, and tomorrow's game is the last game that this core four will play together ever again. They're not going to be going back to Toronto playing another game. Core four is over. I think you blow the whole thing up. Marner's going to go in the offseason, most likely. He's a free agent. I think you maybe try to shop Nylander and see what you can get for him, honestly. Or you might explore if you can get a big haul for Captain Matty, because I truly just think that he's not working there.
No.
Yeah, he's a great regular season player, but he comes to the playoffs, he doesn't show up. You're paying him. He's the highest paid player in the NHL, and he's not showing up when it matters. I don't care if he only scores 40 goals in the season, but if he goes to the playoffs and he's like a point per game player in the playoffs, then you're showing up when it matters, but he doesn't. And then he makes these smart comments like he did yesterday after the game that they didn't give him anything to cheer about. Well, then, like I said, you need to do something to fix that then, because you're the leader, you're the captain, and you let that happen on your home ice. And you let them embarrass you and clown you.
What I want you to do, and what I want everybody out there who happens to be listening to do, if they're watching the Toronto game tomorrow night against Panthers, take a look at the first 15. No, let's take a look at the first period of the game. Take a look at how Austin Matthews is playing. If he's lackadaisical, not being aggressive, you know that this is over. If for some reason Austin Matthews decides to put on his skates, put on his gloves, and start playing hockey, it could be a different game. But I watched that first period.
It's going to be the start of the game, because the Panthers, I think, are just going to have all that freaking energy, and it's going to be about the first period. You're right. Whoever's the best first period team most likely is going to win tomorrow.
So that game is the only game tomorrow night, 7:00 Central Time. We'll be on the air roughly about 9:30, between 9:30 and 10.
Yeah, 10.
We're always on just a few minutes after the last game. Saturday, right now, will just be, if I'm not mistaken, just the one game as well.
Dallas
and that will be Dallas and the Jets. So that's the only 2 series that are left. Carolina is in, and the Oilers are in. Just waiting to see who they're going to play. We could either have a repeat of last year's Western Conference Final, or we could have Winnipeg making it to their second. No.
Yeah, second, because they made it in 2018 against
so their
Vegas.
Second conference final, it's either going to be Florida making it for the 3rd year in a row, or Toronto actually making it to the 3rd one. But I'm going tomorrow night with
I got Florida tomorrow.
With Florida, And Saturday night, we might as well just stretch it out. I'm going with Dallas to wrap that thing up
Yep.
on Saturday night. So we'll be back again tomorrow after the Leafs Panthers game, and maybe Carson will have another Leafs rant. It'll be funny.
I will.
If he does.
I will.
So we're gonna wrap things up for tonight. And again, you can get the Best Boys Center Ice Podcast 2025 Stanley Cup Playoff Wrap-Up shows on the Best Boys Center Ice Podcast YouTube channel, which is available on the Refocus Radio Network. And until we talk again tomorrow night, in the meantime and in between time, everybody have a great hockey night.
See you tomorrow night.
Okay, see you tomorrow night, son.